Nowadays, certain economic truths have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station.
The UAW strike does not seem to be running out of gas anytime soon.
Or race.
The cousin of Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors dies after repeatedly being tased.
Or creed.
Today, Israel's military said its ground forces remain fighting inside Gaza.
The Israeli flag has come up in the Gaza Strip. In fact, IDF soldiers are now hoisting the Israeli flag in the Gaza Strip.
Among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job, the right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation, the right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living, the right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom, freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad.
Now to the sweeping antitrust case against Amazon, alleging it operates as an illegal monopoly.
The UK's top competition watchdog giving the green light to Microsoft's proposed $69 billion takeover bid.
The right of every family to a decent home.
Higher mortgage rates and low inventory are some of the big challenges that have been facing the housing market this year.
I think the Fed made it clear to everybody that interest rates are not going down this year.
And the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health.
According to the report, suicide rates for people between the ages of 10 and 24 rose 60% since 2011.
The largest healthcare strike in U.S. history is underway.
There's growing outrage after a bill to help around 3.5 million veterans exposed to toxic military burn pits was blocked in the Senate.
The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age.
I'm here right now to tell you one thing that you probably haven't ever heard from a politician. It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
Sickness, accidents.
Anybody working in healthcare knows, right? I mean, like, you know, the illnesses and the diseases are hard enough. I take my daughters to the public library, right? And it's like nobody is scrutinizing that, oh, your dad is a doctor and he makes such and such amount of money, so you're eligible for getting these kinds of books, but not these kinds of books over here.
And unemployment.
This weekend, millions of Americans will lose the extra $600 unemployment benefit they've been getting since the early days of the pandemic.
Banks are bracing for an influx of defaulting payments as higher prices across the board force Americans to use credit cards. It comes as over half of Americans earning a six-figure salary report that they're actually living paycheck to paycheck.
The right to a good education.
Alan Amira, it's called Michigan Reconnect, a scholarship program, tuition-free.
Governor Maura Healey officially launched this program just moments ago.
All of these rights spell security. And after this war is won, we must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights to new goals of human happiness and well-being. For unless there is security here at home.
In a weather event that Southern California has not seen in a lifetime.
The best information we have.
There cannot be lasting peace in the world.
In Seattle, protests last night led to 45 arrests and 21 officers hurt. The clashes are a continuation of the calls for justice.
His car is floating. That is really bad.
What the dude? Beat the horn, beat the horn. Yo, what the
Police in Nashville releasing this chilling surveillance video showing the terrifying moments the shooter blasted their way into the small private Presbyterian school. The video also shows the armed person entering a church office and later stalking the halls with an AR-style weapon drawn.
the right to a job that pays a living wage. Franklin Roosevelt said these words in 1933. It seems to me, he said fully plain, that no business that depends for existence on paying less than living wages to its workers has any right to continue in this country. The right to a meaningful endowment of resources at birth. One of the most powerful ways to fight poverty is through baby bonds, by which every child is allotted at birth an amount of money that will become a conduit to wealth creation in their adult years. The best baby bond proposals restrict the use of those funds to wealth-building activities such as buying a home or farm, going to a college or trade school, or starting a business. While such plans would cost taxpayers up to $60 billion a year, that amount is less than the 10% of what we spend on our annual defense budget. The right to an equitable and fair justice system. It's hardly extreme today to suggest that at this point the United States has a two-tier justice system, one for the rich and another for the poor. Only 3% of federally prosecuted crimes are white-collar, even though the deleterious effects of such crimes on poor communities is enormous. The right to good, affordable housing. Throughout the country, the lack of affordable housing has reached crisis levels. But the housing crisis, like our healthcare crisis and our environmental crisis, is simply the spawn of the underlying crisis, which is vulture capitalism. The right to sound banking and financial services. The U.S. banking system at this point is less a facilitator of broad-scale financial good and more a conduit through which the vast majority of capital is kept in the hands of a few at the expense of the many. I will lead the effort to reduce the waste and harm created by a bloated financial sector that has expanded far beyond any justifiable size for our economy. The right to universal quality health care. I join a majority of Americans in support of a universal health care in the form of a Medicare for All type plan. In the United States today, 1 in 4 Americans carry medical debt. 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. People put GoFundMe pages on the internet in order to pay for life-saving operations for themselves and for their loved ones. Tens of thousands, some say millions, die every year from lack of health care in America, and 500,000 Americans go into medical bankruptcy. Every other advanced democracy has universal health care, and so should we.